Hello, lovelies. Welcome to another episode of Women's Wellness That Works. Today is going to be a wonderful connection, spiritual connection, because this is one of my favorite people in the world. Her name is Stacy Pendleton, and she's like my spiritual soul sister. I love her so much. And so I want to welcome you to Women's Wellness That Works, Stacy.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a joy spending time with you anytime, and particularly today to get to do a deeper dive into the work.
Exactly. I mean, I think I've known you now. How many years has it been? Like 7 or 8 years?
Yeah, I think it's been about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, we first met because you had an ad for a sound bowl that you were
Exactly.
advertising on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I answered the ad, and then we met, and I think it was instantaneously a connection after that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was beautiful. And I was so happy that the bull was going to such a wonderful, loving home. And then we just had such a kinship immediately upon talking to each other for the first time. So that
Yes.
was really serendipitous.
It was. And gosh, we've worked together. And so for those of you who are not familiar with my Women's Wellness That Works events here in Orange County, Stacy has been we've collaborated with each other since, oh my gosh, since I was in San Clemente. Remember when we were in my other
Mhm.
home? And she is just, I mean, I can't say enough about her authenticity, her spirit, her energy, but you just have to experience her. You just have to experience her. And that's what you are, is you are an experiential spiritual energy that I can't explain unless someone is actually there with you. So I want to open by thanking you for being here as always. And I want to start with asking you, was there a life-changing event that led you to your spiritual work?
There have been so many different things that have impacted me in my life and that have probably deepened my spiritual work. But I can't point to one singular event. We could be here all day talking about all of them. But I think some of it, honestly, I always felt connected to spirit since I was little. I would go outside and I would pray and I would meditate and I would talk to the fairies and the plants and the flowers, and just felt really kind of connected. And I felt always like nature was my church. I still feel that way. And I have, as I'm sure we can all relate to, and I think some of it's a generational thing and some of it's just whatever family we were born into to learn whatever lessons we were meant to learn. um at that time, my family was kind of more about like, we want things to appear neat and tidy. We want to, be perceived in a particular way, et cetera, et cetera. And that at times felt like it was more important than the core reality. It's like, just put on a happy face, whatever goes going on underneath the surface. We just ignore the
Right,
unpleasantness, and
right.
you know what I mean? And I was like I am like the absolute opposite
Opposite of that.
personality. Yeah, like let's dig, like let's have deep conversations, like let's understand each other, let's talk about our issues, let's, you know what I mean? And so I think that having that spiritual connectedness helped kind of keep me sane in an environment where I wasn't really able to fully be myself. And so now I'm just like me turned up to 11.
Yeah. And I
you
know
know
I know when we spoke earlier, you mentioned about being in high school and, how you just, I guess you were in sort of the popular crowd and that you got bored and you just wanted to do something different.
That was like junior high. I would say I was in the like moderately popular sort of group. And but I wasn't really feeling lit up or excited by the conversations that were being had, or like I wanted to dress in a different way. I wanted to express myself in a different way. I wanted to write poetry and meditate and read spiritual books. And that's not in junior high. It's a little in Newport Beach in the late 80s, early 90s, that was a little hard to come by. So so I kind of consciously made a decision, 7th grade going into 8th grade. I'm just going to show up as myself, and whoever falls away, falls away. And
Yeah.
whoever comes closer, comes closer. And I actually did find some kids who had some of the same interests. And I was able to feel kind of like I was a little more among my people. So I would say for kids, for adults, or anyone anywhere in between, if you're struggling to find connection and community, fully being yourself is the way. You might in the short term, lose some people, but you're
Mhm.
going to foster deeper, more sustainable connections that really fuel you by just being you.
Exactly. And you understanding that at such a young age, I mean, that's phenomenal. That's, exceptional, because even as adults, we really don't understand, what maybe our purpose is, or what even being authentically honest. And I know one of the things you talked about is being, I think, radical acceptance, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
being you.
Yeah.
And so at such a young age, you knew who you were and are.
I I did, and I'm grateful for that. I didn't have it mastered. I fumbled and stumbled a lot, but I was definitely committed, at least to some degree, to living that way, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. Was there something you were afraid to incorporate into your work, that basically surprised you when you took the plunge?
Big time. So I, for a lot of years, was doing the sound and energy healing work, which I love. I've been doing that for almost 20 years, and I still adore it. And it's a huge part of what I do. But what's interesting is that there was this other kind of dream sort of tugging at my sleeve the whole time, that I was really, and it was a call I was afraid to answer. And that was doing intuitive work, both intuitive readings and intuitive coaching. Um, Growing up, my parents were somewhat religious. We didn't go to church a lot or that, but I was grown up, I was raised in a Christian household. And again, this is not to like, this is my parents thinking they were doing the best they could do for me, and so I'm in full acceptance of that. But at the time, I was reading different spiritual books about shamanism and Buddhism and all the different,
Oh,
religions and spiritual paths. And I like to kind of take the nectar from all the flowers, and I feel like divinity is everywhere.
yeah.
So, which is not the way that I was raised. But again, it was just kind of this inner knowing that I had about who I was and how I felt connected to source. So, anyway, one of my parents found a deck of oracle cards in my room. They were hidden, and I got into a lot of trouble for it. That is, along with the spiritual books and that. But for some reason, the cards to me were just this symbol of like being shamed for, who I was and what I felt called to do. And so I thought, well, I can do the spiritual work, and I can do it in a way that's more, that's might be a little fringe, but it's a little more widely accepted, a little more universal. Um, but with the intuitive work, those messages would always filter through what I did with the healing, etc. But doing that as a standalone offering to me felt like a symbol of like, I don't want to give my family a heart attack. Like I don't want, you know what I mean?
Exactly,
Like I don't want to
exactly.
traumatize anybody. But about a handful of years ago, I was receiving kind of a reading slash healing session with someone. And I told her how badly I wanted to do this. And she told me to close my eyes and just visualize, being in that space and doing that work and what it would feel like. And the feeling of overwhelming joy
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
I kind of tapped into, just closing my eyes and envisioning that, it opened my heart. And from that day forward, I was like, I don't care
Yeah.
what anyone says.
Exactly.
there's medicine in this, and it's such a part of my purpose, so I'm doing it. And it's been crazy. Like within a year of doing the intuitive work, now it's like the majority of the work I do is that. It happens so quickly. Yeah.
And so I've had several sessions with you, in fact, with your intuitive work. And, in the beginning, I just experienced you with, your spiritual sound bath healing, which of course was exceptional already. But when you added your intuitive healing and the tarot cards and everything, it was just almost like a complete healing session, because I felt that, not only the energy healing, the sound healing, your voice is beyond angelic. The intuitive reading was so spot on, and that's what was remarkable to me when I experienced you. So you have such a gift. Now, here's what's you give yourself obviously so much, your energy and who you are. What boundaries do you set for yourself, and how do you hold space for yourself?
I do a lot of different things. I think what's crucial for me is like I limit the amount of clients that I see during a day or during the course of a week. I limit the amount of groups I'll facilitate, because even though divine energy is infinite, and that's what we tap into to do this work, the human vessel still needs a lot of rest, and it can still take a lot out of you.
Absolutely.
So I will tell you, one of the things that this work has taught me so well, and I'm still learning it, but it's helped so much, is boundaries. Like learning how to say no to people, learning when to say no to people, learning how to be at peace with saying no,
and not feeling guilty about saying no.
100%. When we come into our space, whether it's our workspace or with our partner or with our family or whatever we're doing, when we come into that space with a revived spirit, when we come into that space rested, we're a heck of a lot easier to be around, first of all. But we're also like, they get the best of us, and we get to really bring our full selves to the table, not our exhausted selves. So yeah, some of it is creating really clear boundaries around time. And when you get those calls from frantic clients at midnight, to them it might feel like an emergency, but it's not really. And so you can wait until the next morning. You don't have to treat yourself like, a 24/7 on call ER doctor. Like you get to have your own space and your own life and your own boundaries. And that helps your clients too, to tap into their own inner strength and realize, okay, yes, I have support, but ultimately I need to be my best support.
Exactly. And I think you had said a while back that we need a certain amount of silence in order to reconnect.
100%. Yes. For me, silence, is spending time in meditation, spending time without music or a movie or anything going, and just connecting with the sound of the birds, the sound of the wind, being in nature, and just allowing that sort of tabula rasa, that like kind of clean slate, that blank page where we can really connect with the knowing that only can really come from silence is important.
Yes. I believe in just complete silence. Like I love it when my home, when no one is here, when when the children are gone, my husband's gone, everyone is gone, and I'm just in complete silence. I don't want to play music. I don't want to hear anything. I just want to be in my space of energy, which really re-energizes me to the point where it's like, I'm here, I'm present, I'm here and now. And that allows me as an empath like you to regain that grounded centeredness that we both need as empaths. So as an empath, it is sometimes difficult to navigate, right? But for the empaths out there, because I know there's millions of people that are empaths out there, what advice would you give to them to help them nurture and strengthen themselves, because you and I, have worked on ourselves for years and years and years, but there are empaths out there that maybe they're not even aware they're empaths, but maybe they feel that they're just sensitive, which is one of the things I was told every time when I was a child. You're so sensitive.
Oh, yeah.
You're so sensitive. What's wrong with you? You just constantly are emotional.
Right.
So what kind of advice would you give someone who is an empath?
Well, one of the pieces of advice right out of the gate is what you said, which is about spending time in silence. Because so much of what can feel like our own exhaustion and fatigue is just feeling depleted by kind of fielding other people's stuff and picking up on what other people are feeling. And so silence gives us the gift of discernment. Okay, we're able to more easily kind of sort what actually belongs to me, what emotions are coming up that are internally present, that are mine to kind of deal with and resolve and reconcile, and what is just about overwhelm because I was just in a big group all day yesterday, or whatever, or maybe I was having a conversation with a friend or a client or a family member who just required a lot that day and it was exhausting, so the silence is really important. I'm a firm believer in clearing my energy. You can do that in a lot of different ways. You can do it with sound. You can do it by playing a singing bowl. You can do it by, listening to theta healing or whatever it is that, that really calms and anchors and centers you. You can do it by going barefoot on the earth at the beach or, in the mountains or somewhere in nature and just really grounding, visualizing the energy of the earth, recharging you and kind of extracting any energy that doesn't belong to or benefit you. Allow it to go back into the core of the earth where it can be transmuted and purified and transformed. And I love sacred smoke, like sage, Palo Santo, frankincense.
Yes, Palo Santo for sure. Frankincense, yes, love that.
Essential oils, which we're both big, into doTERRA and into essential oils and the power of those. So anything like that, salt baths and salt showers where you're kind of visualizing the water element as a waterfall that's clearing any energy that isn't supportive of you on your path or shedding any old energy. All of those things, anything that, and for some people, it could be as simple as going out for a run and sweating it out and feeling the wind on your face. Whatever it is for you, figure out what that is, what that looks like, and what that feels like, and make a commitment to do that daily.
Exactly. Those are great tips and great advice. I know when I was growing up, as a young girl, I didn't have those tips or advice, like someone to share that with me, because I think in my generation, maybe our generation, no one had the idea that, oh, wow, this is who I am. And, I need to honor myself. I need to do what's best for myself and serve myself, and surrounding yourself with so many people. That's one thing I knew as even as I got older, was too much people, too many times at one time is so overwhelming for me.
Yes.
So it's draining. And then after that, it's like, okay, now I need my space. I need to be by myself and just be in silence. And that really supports that.
That's it. Yeah. Balancing the time alone and the time with people. And certainly after being among a lot of people, taking that time to recharge. And those of us who, as social as we might be at times, those of us who skew more on the introverted side, and certainly those of us who skew more on the empath side, that's going to be the need for that time alone and creating that balance is going to be amplified.
I know you were with me at our last event last July, and we had like 20 some women, and it was beautiful. We did, your spiritual sound bath. We started off with that and just connecting and grounding us. And then of course the festivities started, but that was a long day, right?
Yeah.
So it was a long day for me.
Yeah. Longer for you than,
But even that space after that, I needed actually a week to just, re-energize and to really get myself to a place where it's like, okay, I can go back again into the world, because it took at least 6 months just to prepare for that.
Right.
And after that, it was like, okay, I'm done. I need a week off. I need at least a week off just to get myself back into the world. Is that something you also experience?
Oh, 100%, 100%, especially if I do, if I'm participating in a retreat or facilitating, like I facilitated a day retreat last summer, just me, like I did the shamanic journey, did the sound bath, did intuitive readings for everyone, guided them through learning to do like Sanskrit chant, like I did everything.
Yes, everything.
and had a very similar experience to you. It's like, it was, even though it was only, I think, like 12 people or something, because my space is adorable but small. It was huge, and it took me several days afterwards of just really resting, really calling my own energy back to me. As beautiful as the energy of every single person present was, it was so special. I would not have changed a thing, but Mama needed her time.
Exactly.
So I totally relate to that.
I want to talk to you about your voice, your beautiful singing voice. It's ethereal. It's almost Celtic. I mean, it's just angelic. How do you incorporate your beautiful singing voice into one's healing session? How do you incorporate your voice? And when did you start singing? Like, how did you know that your voice was such a powerful energy that you can use that in your healing session? Because I don't know of any other healer that incorporates everything that you incorporate, because you do so much. It's not just sound bath healing, it's not just energy work, but you incorporate so much. But your voice, how did you know that you had this beautiful, powerful voice?
I was a very, very early talker and a very early singer. Like, we're talking 5 months in Mama's arms, pointing at things and identifying what they were, and humming and babble singing and all of that. And so I came in singing, and it was always something that I really
singing.
Yeah, that's it. I'm here. Yeah.
Were your parents, were they vocal? Were they musical?
My dad plays the saxophone. My mom, apparently, by the time I was like, she would sing to me sometimes. And when I was like 3 years old, I have since apologized. And she thankfully had a good sense of humor about it. But apparently by the time I was about 3, I was like, Mommy, please stop singing. Because I had an ear, and so a critical one, unfortunately. Now I'm really supportive with people in their self-expression, but at 3, I did not have the filter. So.
Exactly.
But yeah, I was always singing, and my parents recognized it from the time I was really little, and thankfully put me in voice lessons at like age 10. I studied opera. I majored in music in school, got my degree in music and all of that. And it was a safe way of expressing myself, whereas like if I was on stage singing, everybody was cool with me expressing myself. Not so much at any other time, but in that context, I could. And that felt powerful. And I had kind of a desire that I couldn't articulate when I was younger, but as a young adult started to be able to, had this desire to create safe places for other people to express themselves. And so that didn't have to be performative necessarily, but I use my voice as kind of an instrument to help extract, pain, trauma, one's soul purpose, etc. I tap into the energy of the person who's kind of in the space I'm working in or on my table, and feel into the medicine, the messages, the melodies that will support them. And I direct that energy through my voice. I direct that energy through my hands, and Some of it that is, Sanskrit mantras that I'm chanting that have been around for thousands of years. And some of it is just melodies that come to me in the moment, and even sometimes lyrics that flow through in the moment that come from their guides. It's kind of the prescription, the medicine for that specific person comes through.
Well, you know what's so interesting about that? Because I think my last session, I was actually listening to a piece of music.
Mm-hmm.
You remember? And
Yes.
I was having my session and you were singing it. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I was literally listening to it because it's one of my favorite songs, Yama Ye.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did you know? I mean, obviously your intuition came again. And I'm just like, oh my God, I love that song.
That's so beautiful. And I love the way spirit works. I love how that happens. That obviously is an established song that I was just like, this is the medicine right now. And so of course you had just been listening. So I love it.
I know. I was literally right until I got to your door and I parked the car and then walked in. And I just felt like, I was already in this bliss, but then your voice just elevated it to another level. So it was just amazing. Again, you're intuitive. It was just I'm pleasantly surprised every time I see you and experience you. Because there's always a wonderful experience each time, and it's different each time. So I always recommend and refer you to, our Women's Wellness at Works community to see you for a healing session.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
So let's talk about everything, all the things that you've studied. You have a variety of numerous healing paths and things that you've studied. And did you incorporate you incorporate all of them in your sessions, right? So obviously your Sanskrit, your spiritual sound bath. I mean, there's so many things that you've learned over the years. How do you know what to incorporate?
It's kind of interesting with the sound bath. I started doing sound baths before I had ever attended one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think I had maybe been to one ever. And then but I had been doing one-on-one energy work with people. And I just had a couple of rattles that I used and did hands-on energy work and had a Tibetan singing bowl or two, and then just used my voice and just directed the energy. That I never studied. The hands-on healing, I'm self-taught.
That's great.
And then, but the Sanskrit mantras, the pronunciation and the intonation is it's so specific. And so I studied with a teacher from South India, studied with him for a number of years, learned, puja, worship of Divine Mother, and learned all of these different Sanskrit mantras. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. I don't speak the language, but I took very, very seriously the importance of honoring the ancient tradition and really doing my homework with that.
I could see you actually teaching that to people who would want to actually go deeper in their spirituality and want to learn more of that, maybe in using their voice as well.
Well, I mean, I do some of that with one-on-one clients in terms of chanting for self-healing and also chanting for the healing of others. Those who are either energy healers themselves or have a desire to kind of explore that. I feel like the medicine of the voice is so powerful when we kind of remove ourselves from the self-judgment piece around it and just recognize that every voice has a different texture, has a different tone, and has a different medicine and beauty about it. It's a really beautiful kind of terrain to explore for sure.
And those, obviously our audience is women, but it's interesting that your chakra, your fifth chakra, your throat chakra, is connected to the thyroid, right? So that is, and it's a master hormone, the thyroid. So that's interesting that, obviously our voice and how we are able to express ourselves fully is allowing us to heal not only our thyroid, but all of our chakras. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Allowing the energy to move, into this area. I mean, through our entire bodies, of course, but that kind of bridge between third eye center, kind of our inner knowing, and our connection with our higher self, and our connection with the heart chakra, the wisdom of the heart, bridging at the throat center in our own own communication with ourselves and with others. This is such a healer. This is such a healer when we really give ourselves permission to unlock it.
Now I know a lot of women practice spirituality, or maybe even religion, and maybe they're more spiritual than religious. What advice would you give women who want to go maybe a little bit deeper in their spirituality, who want to delve deeper into their spirit, their energy?
Well, it's funny. I have a little digression, and then if I get too far off course, just go ahead and rein me in and bring me back.
The floor is yours.
Great. So I was thinking about it because I would say more than half my clients are religious, and most of my religious clients are Christian, and I feel that really the compassionate Christ-like energy from them. And that energy is so healing and so beautiful. I feel whether you're religious or whether you're spiritual or whether you kind of walk that line, having that deep, loving acceptance of self and others is such a beautiful, important thing to deepen any practice. And in terms of kind of connecting spiritually and how to deepen that connection, however source, God, divine, creator speaks to you and through you is beautiful. And having your own relationship with that divine energy is so beautiful. And for some people, it's about getting quiet and meditating. For some people, it's about prayer. For me, I love both, because with prayer, you get to have a kind of a conversation with source. That is really beautiful. It allows us to express ourselves. It allows us to develop that personal relationship. And then the meditation allows us to go to that beautiful space we were talking about of silence and stillness, and really be able to kind of connect with our own inner voice and our own inner knowing, and really drop into and deepen that feeling, that relationship with the knowing and loving acceptance of self. And that helps us to see that, loving acceptance in others, and to honor that in others.
That's beautiful. And I'm just going to add to that, and just to listen to your breath, to breathe while you're practicing all of the above, and just to really connect with your breath and your body and your mind and your spirit, because it is all connected. It is all one.
Absolutely.
So where can everyone find you? How do we find you? How do people locate and look for you? Because I know there's so many people that would love to work with you.
Oh, thank you. So I'll share that, piggybacking on what you said about the breath, which is so true and so profound. I don't want to forget to say it. I find that when I'm meditating, about like a few minutes in, when I really drop in, that my breath just like really deepens. And I really, I feel it in the front of my body. I feel it in the back of my body. There's a point at which the breath slows and deepens, and you really feel that connection. And I feel like the breath is another really important compass in terms of when do we go spend our time alone? When do we sit and meditate? When the breath gets shallow, it's a really good cue that you're long past due to go and take that intentional time.
I always say, if you don't have 5 minutes to breathe, take 30 minutes, because 5 minutes, I don't have 5 minutes. Well, guess what? Then you need 30 minutes now because really taking
Exactly.
that time to get yourself in that space of just pausing, you know. I
Mm-hmm.
always say the power of the pause is breathing. The power of the
Yes.
pause is breath. And so
Mm.
allowing us to pause from our busyness, whatever it is that we
Mhm.
create in our lives, and just allowing that to deepen, like you said, really deepen. Maybe 5 minutes isn't enough time for you to really go deep into that, and then feeling all the energy from back and front. I recall when I was actually in the hospital, one of the many occasions I was hospitalized during
Mhm.
my journey. I had been practicing and studying yoga, and my classmates at the time, we would do like early morning meditation, healing energy at 4:30 in the morning. And obviously I was in the hospital. So one of my classmates came and said, "Hey, we sent you some healing energy." And I said,
Mhm.
"What time was that?" I said, "Oh, it was early morning, like at 4:30. And I
Mhm.
said, "That is so interesting. I dreamt that there was a blanket of white healing energy covering my entire body." And
Mhm.
I said, "I was dreaming it." And she said, "That's exactly what we sent you. We were
Oh.
meditating and sending you this white blanket of healing energy." And so I thought
Mhm.
I was just dreaming, but obviously that was
Mhm.
the energy they were sending me. And so energy work, healing work, breath work, spiritual work, sound bath,
Mhm.
intuitive work. I mean, that is just such a powerful, powerful healing process for anyone to experience, but especially from you. So getting
Thank you.
back, yeah,
Yes.
let's
Thanks for
get
bringing me
back.
back.
Let's get back to where does someone
Yes.
find you?
Yes. So I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram under my name, Stacy Pendleton. And also I have a website, stacypendleton.com, where you can really see kind of a full description of all the offerings and see what resonates with you and what speaks to you. There's also an event calendar on the website that shows you where I'm going to be every month, facilitating groups both for sound healing and also for intuitive reading, sound healing, a combination. And
Yeah.
people can also reach out to me to add some spiritual benefit and enjoyment to their events with the intuitive work or with sound healing or with some combination, whatever speaks to them.
Do you work with people online?
I do, absolutely.
Okay.
So I'm FaceTime and Zoom pretty much every day. I've got now virtual clients. That was one of the silver linings of a difficult time at the beginning of COVID and everything, was the opportunity to really kind of connect with people from all over the country and all over the world.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
that's
I'm so happy that everyone can have access to you, because unfortunately not everyone is here in California. But if they can just experience you even over the internet and Zoom and so forth, I know they'll feel that same energy regardless of
thank
where they
you.
are, because you have
Yeah,
such powerful energy.
thank you. I'm grateful. Yeah, the energy translates just as well virtually. It's fun to be in person when we
Of
can, but
course.
it's not necessary to receive the benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, so of course we're going to put all that information below. You'll have all the contact information for Stacy, all of her social media. So definitely you will have that opportunity to connect with her and have your experience with her. Oh my goodness, Stacy, we could talk forever.
We could.
And I love you
I
always.
love you too.
And then, we definitely need to reconnect, because we definitely need to have another sound bath healing eventually for
Absolutely. And I
ourselves.
and thank you so much for holding space for me today and being able to share about my work. It's a real joy, and to be able to do it with you, who I love so much and feel so comfortable with, is really awesome.
This was actually long overdue. I think we were supposed to do this a year ago. And again, it's the time, the space, the energy,
Hmm.
divine timing. It's all
Yeah.
about divine timing. So,
Yes.
and that's why I just allow spirit to take us where we need to. And this was the time for you to share,
Mhm.
Stacy, and all that you are. So
Thank you.
thank you so much. And remember, Every woman has her story. What's your story? Until the next time, we'll see you at the next Women's Wellness That Works Expert Series. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.